Welcome back to the Do Hard Things Today podcast, here with Coach Katie Malone, Jed Blackwell over there on the board, and we always love having special guests in with us. We have Miss Stephanie, actually, the good doctor is here. Stephanie Morgan is here with us. We're actually going to do a two-part series talking about her professional life and some things with that, but we're also going to talk today about running for life, of just about what running has meant to her. And now she is an aspiring triathlete, has done some pretty cool things in her running career, but we're going to talk to her. Got Coach Katie Malone. What's going on with you, Coach Katie?
I am still rolling from last week with all our cycling talks that we had. It's just really kind of things are taking place, things are falling into place, people are reaching out, people are ready to step up and help, people are ready to make a difference. So it's pretty amazing, honestly.
It's been very encouraging to see. Talk to a lot of people out in the community that have reached out, that have listened to the podcast and seen some of the other things that you guys and Michael, who we had on, are doing. So, hopefully this is the beginning of something that can really transform the cycling, not only the cycling community, but community as whole, of how we can be out on the road and partner together to keep everyone safe and allow everyone to do the things that they love.
Definitely. So it's just been an exciting week with kind of that momentum that's been built, and just everybody's ready to take action, and seeing that and then kind of like moving on from that with a plan that we can really put into place to make things happen. Oh my goodness. I'm really excited. And then of course, the Ironman World Championships for women are in France next weekend. So we have 3 people from my team flying out there. So, and myself, I get to go. So I'm pretty excited about that.
And that's in Nice.
Nice, France, the south of France.
It's not nice.
Not
nice,
France. From Holly
Nice.
Springs, it's not nice.
It's not nice.
I must have misplaced my invite to France, too.
Yeah.
Did you get yours?
I did not get mine. I'm going to get an invite to one of those things one day.
I'm going to send you some pictures of,
That'd be awesome.
of nice Nice up from the top of the mountain. So anyway, so lots of things going on. Really just, I can't believe it's already fall. It's already time for a world championship. So the women's race is next weekend, and then the men's race is in 6 weeks after that in Kona. The men are in Kona this year. The women are in Nice.
Yeah, we look forward to getting the race reports from those and having those ladies on and to talk about their experiences there. And I know they've been training really hard for that, and I think you've had them in a couple of times for some training weeks or weekends. And
every week.
Yeah, every week.
Every week. Melody, who lives in Charlotte, she was actually able to take her sabbatical for, I think once you work at Bank of America for 20 or 25 years, you get like a 4 or 5 week sabbatical.
Yeah.
So she took that to do her training. So she came up to the mountains every week and did her training.
Nice.
So yeah, that's commitment on a whole nother level.
Jed was asking me, after you work at Harrison's for 3 years, do you get a sabbatical? And not quite yet.
Just not yet.
I don't get a sabbatical either. That's a good idea.
Yeah, let's start one.
Let's start sabbatical.
Yep. We'll run a pilot program with you and I.
Yeah.
We'll take one, and then we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Maybe we go to Nice, France.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Or Kona, or wherever the men are next year.
Yeah.
I think that sounds good.
Like
anyway, so that's everything, I really think. I mean, could there be anything else there? No, not really.
Nothing else there.
Nothing else.
All right. Well, we know you're passionate about cycling, but also passionate about triathlon, and especially about female triathletes,
yes,
aspiring triathletes. And we have one of those in the house, and she is a doctor, Dr. Stephanie Morgan. I knew her as Stephanie Buffo when she came through the greatest high school in the United States of America, Dorman High School, and then went on to Clemson, which we'll forgive her for that. Of course, I've got one over there right now, so I'm not being ugly. I'm about to stop paying tuition at Clemson University, but we have Dr. Morgan, and she is going to again, this is a 2-part series. We're going to talk about she is her professional career and what she does in that, and how that is something that I think is going to. I've done a little reading and research on it, which is enough to make me dangerous.
Education is good.
Yeah, education's good. Education's not real good when you're doing it on the internet and it's like looking up things. Couldn't find a whole lot of information on it there. So I'm interested in our next podcast which will be part 2 of this, to learn more about the importance of pelvic health and what you're doing over there at Limitless Therapy. So, but today we're going to talk about, wanted to kind of slice this onion this way of what is talking about running for life. And it's for many of us, we grow up, our experience with running as a youth is one of, hey, when you get in trouble, whatever sport you're doing, go run. And running is punishment. In fact, some of the cross country shirts that my daughter says something on the back. It was like, our sport is your punishment, something like that. Yes. And so I wanted to just let you introduce yourself, and then just tell us how because you've been running your whole life, and that has progressed into a pretty impressive running career you've had. So how did you, let's start at the beginning. How did you get started running, and what in the world would make you want to, as a youth, get out and just start running?
Yeah, so I was a multi-sport athlete. So I did soccer, I was a tennis athlete, I played golf, I did lots of different sports, and that obviously includes a lot of sprinting or running or power and endurance. I was a very small child, short, skinny. That's kind of where I was. So I wasn't going to be like a power athlete. I wasn't going to be a hand-eye coordinated athlete. Softball, basketball I played, but I was just not tall enough. But running was always something that I was pretty good at, and I could do it for a long period of time. So when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I started in the USATF kind of youth programs in Spartanburg, actually, under a coach named Tammy Dennis. And Tammy is still kind of in and out of coaching. She coaches them, or started the Mount Pleasant Track Club in Charleston, South Carolina, but she originally started in Spartanburg with the Spartanburg Striders.
I remember that. And she was there at the Eye Opener this weekend.
Well, she didn't come to see me race on college night.
I'm sorry, no, but she was there.
She was there last year.
Okay.
And I still, to this day, keep in touch with Coach Tammy Dennis and see her quite frequently, because she was a pivotal point of my running career. And she has coached people for 30 plus years, from Spartanburg Striders to Mount Pleasant Track Club.
At least she's always, like when I was in college, I think, or just out of college and running, and she was a leader in the community at that point. I think maybe it was Girls on the Run was kind of getting started, maybe, and that's probably what you were involved in, because you're a little bit younger than I am. And so, to me, she kind of represents the Spartanburg running community.
Yes. So she started all of the elementary school fun run programs, and so she would have them at each school, and then she would have these different locations that you could all run together, which doesn't exist as much anymore, but there are youth programs within each district now, which I think is where we're starting to see a feeder system into the high school system. But yeah, Tammy was my first coach in Spartanburg, and I grew up running on the Cottonwood Trails, which wasn't what it is now, which is amazing to see what PAL has done in the Spartanburg community with paving the trails, but also keeping the trails in the forest, which I think is awesome. But yeah, my claim to fame for Tammy was that I was her first top 20 athlete from the national. So I was her first nationalist. But from there, I just continued to grow within the cross country and track realm. So I would do the 1500, or I would do like the 3000 in track. But I was also playing soccer. I did tennis and swam on swim team in summer league. I would always kind of diverse my skill set, which I think is what is the most important thing that has led me to keep doing what I'm doing now. I see a lot of athletes who are specifying their sport, and I see a lot of trouble with that, with longevity into the sport itself. So I think it's good for folks to play middle school basketball, for them to do summer swim league, because I think it uses different muscle groups, but it allows those other muscles to really take some breathers, and then you don't see as much of dropout rate. So I think the longevity really is the key there in just multi-sport integration. And that comes from the family too. So like I have kids now who I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, and we're not doing soccer all year round. Like we did summer swim league. We just do lots of different things to not specify our sport. And as a professional, in the physical therapy world, I think there's a lot more benefit to that as well from an injury perspective.
Do you think that, I mean, I feel like as a coach that it's really important that my child is not running a 10K at 11 years old, because I don't think he needs to be running a 10K. People ask me all the time, why isn't he riding on the road? Why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he doing that? And I really, could he do it? Sure, maybe. Am I going to let him? No, because I know better. So do you kind of feel like people look to you, well, what's Stephanie doing?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing, like when it comes to what I'm doing from personal training versus what am I telling my kids to do is really different, just because of experience or maturity or whatever
Definitely.
it may be. But like, what was it, 2 weekends ago, I did the Middle Tiger Triathlon and did well. And then 2 days later, my kids did the kids triathlon. So that distance is much more appropriate for these kids. I'm not even putting my 8-year-old in a 5K. That's not appropriate, nor is it fun for him. Like, I'm not gonna, and he chose soccer this year over cross country. That's fine. Yes, most people say, oh, your kids are going to be great at like runners and athletes. And I'm like, yes, but like, I don't want to push them to that either. I'm not going to be his cross country coach.
Right.
I think people expect me to do that, but I will do that only if they want me to. And that's really important as a parent, that I take the step back and allow other people to coach my child.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think the one thing that I kind of worry about now, people are always trying to be like, hey, if you want your kid to be great, if you want your kid to get a college scholarship, they better focus on one sport from the time they're a little kid until they grow up. And I'm like, oh no, that's the way to make them hate their sport. And it really worries me when I see that, because it doesn't give the child any balance. And also, I think when the parents are really driving that ship, that's not necessarily a good thing for kids.
Yeah. I find too, because I'm not saying that I'm not a coach, because I am a coach for my daughter's recreational soccer team. And I have been a coach for soccer for my husband, and I have been doing that for about 5 years, but we do it based off of their skill set. And I use my background as a physical therapist of what skills do these 3-year-old soccer players need to be good soccer players as an 8-year-old, as a 10-year-old. Like, I'm not going to have them play games. I'm going to have them actually do little skill sets and play fun games so that they have the skill sets later on in life. And so I use my physical therapy background to do skipping and hopping and galloping. And the parents come up to me and they're like, you're not teaching them how to play. And I'm like, I'm teaching them how to be an athlete. That doesn't mean that they have to be a soccer player or a cross country runner or a track athlete. Like,
at that age, you're teaching them plenty. They are so lucky to have you, honestly. I mean, because we've all seen the parents who have no clue what they're doing. They don't know anything about soccer. They don't know anything about sports. They are just there to watch the kids.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, oh, that was nice of them. They meant well, but the kids are frustrated. The parents are frustrated. It usually doesn't end real well.
As parents, how do y'all navigate the pressure to specialize? Because it seems like the only thing that's going to make you better at baseball is fall baseball. And the only thing that's going to make you better at soccer is out-of-season soccer and AAU basketball and travel volleyball. And I don't believe any of those things are true. If the foremost orthopedist in the world says specialization is bad, then specialization is bad. How do you navigate that pressure, though, to play? If I don't play fall ball, then they're not going to get to play when school season runs around. How do you do that?
So I'm going to keep coming back to soccer because that's the season that we're in right now, because my children have chosen to not run instead, and that's fine. But like, my son will play soccer in the house, and I know that's probably not the best advice to give on a podcast, but like, he plays indoor ball against the couches, and it keeps it fun, and it keeps it small ball, but it keeps him touching the ball, and that's fun to him. And we have goals in our front yard, and if he wants to go play, he plays. We have practices twice a week, and I don't coach his team anymore because I feel like he needs more of a disciplinary component when it comes to soccer. But we didn't put him in a summer soccer league, and we actually kind of made them do swim team because they're not great at it. And that's okay. I think it's more of the socialization component, that it's okay to not be good at everything. And you need to learn these other skills just to be able to swim and not sink. Honestly, that's the best thing that swim team taught us, was actual swimming skills. So,
But isn't it important to not be the best at everything? Like, isn't that where you grow the most?
Yes.
Like, kind of leading into you moving to triathlon from running. Like, you were really great at running. It was going really well, wasn't it? Like, just running.
Yeah. So but as my background as a runner, it does help you into the other sports. And I was a good swimmer, but I was not a good cyclist. And so anyone who knows me will know that I am very bike illiterate. I have no clue how to change a tire. I don't know how to fix my bike. I take my bike in to have somebody fix it up for me, and I just don't know anything about it. So I'm learning.
You'll learn.
I'm learning, and I'm learning how to bike, and that's really important, and bike safety. And you and I have spoken about the recent accidents that have happened during races, and I've been in both of those races and actually been a part of both of the scenarios. So there's some anxiety around the biking component that I think plays a huge role in how I will bike in the future, but I don't want to not come back to the sport. I need to just make myself more knowledgeable on that moving forward. So, yeah.
So let's back up for a second before we get into the triathlon. I want to talk about the Boston Marathon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So what was I really want to do the Boston Marathon, and I don't want to, I know you can do the charities and different things, but I really want to qualify. And so we're doing a podcast on self-talk, positive self-talk coming up. And let me just tell you how fast, Jed, have I told you lately how fast of a runner I am?
No, I've heard that you're the world's greatest swimmer, but I haven't heard how fast of a runner you are.
That goes without saying, but I am becoming, I'm one of the fastest runners you'll find out there.
He's becoming. He is becoming.
So I guess positive self-talk, it's not necessarily always true, but you at least keep saying that too.
But it's always positive.
But I had a great workout. You had a great track workout yesterday.
You've had weeks, actually, of great workouts. It's funny how that works.
Yeah. I was waiting on a comment from the one from yesterday, the Dorman track, that I set it on fire. But
I'll look at it
Positive
tonight.
regardless, let's get back to the Boston Marathon and a true fast runner. So talk about your journey to the Boston Marathon. Was there anything, and was that something that you had always wanted to do, that so many runners out there kind of put that up on the pedestal of, I really want to go and qualify, run the Boston Marathon. So talk to us about your journey there.
So I didn't get into marathons until at least 5 years postpartum. So I struggled with some postpartum, kind of just psychological and emotional things. I was also taking care of family, and not just, my children, but my parents, and just being involved more in that kind of phase of my life. And that's okay. You kind of need to give yourself a little grace. And my husband always says to not chase ghosts. And that's really important. As an adult, you don't want to chase the ghost of your college past. Although I'm still chasing down my college PRs.
That's a really interesting saying. Don't chase ghosts. Explain that a little bit for me.
So my goal was to match my PRs from high school, which is very hard.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm touching.
Well, it depends on how well you ran in high school.
True.
Well,
for me, I didn't run well, so it was very easy.
Well, but hold on a second. I saw the picture you posted that was like 1837 from last week. And you had one of your Dorman career. So
that was my senior year.
So have you matched your PRs from?
No, not yet.
But the
I'm
course
close.
was different. The eye opener was not different when you were. Oh, sorry. I guess it was just me. Oops. Oops. Just dated myself again.
So I recently ran eye opener in the collegiate division and ran 1837. But my senior year, I ran a 2020. But as a ninth grader is when I was peaking. And we'll get into a little bit more conversation about peaking in younger girls.
Interesting.
So as a ninth grader at the state meet, I was runner up, and I ran an 1810 as a ninth grader.
Sweet.
So I peaked, and then I hit my puberty stage and had a struggle year or two, and then kind of came back a little bit, and then ran again at Clemson. But after my Clemson career, I started getting into triathlons, had children, and then just needed some more ease on my body. So I went back to marathons. Because that makes sense, right?
Yeah, completely. I mean, mentally it does.
Yeah.
Because it gives you that, I think, that consistent motion and the time away in one chunk to be able to think and process life.
Yeah.
At least that's my experience.
To put that 1810 in perspective, because I'm a sports stat guy, 1810 in 2003, so 21 years later, at one of the top 4 or 5 cross-country schools in the state, is still a school record. So that's what we're dealing with. Just to put that 1810 into perspective for everybody that's listening, that
was really fast.
Fast.
And so to come back this many years later and be anywhere near your PR, and also to have, like, I find as athletes get older, they might do longer in distance, like better in distance time-wise, but usually, like, to maintain that speed over that many years, that's amazing.
I have a good group that I run with, so that's important.
See, can I just come back to what she just said? I have a good group that I run with. She has fast friends, is what she just said. And that was one of my tips a couple last week or whenever. It was.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you were like, where do you find fast
you mean
friends?
because like we're friends now, so now she has fast friends.
Yeah. Yeah, go train with Stephanie. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Go to the Dorman
That'd
track.
be great for you. He does.
Yeah,
I mean, just run when she's running.
I actually do run at Dorman a lot, but the cross country, because I know all those kids, and so I'll hear them, and I might run in the big loop.
And what do
they'll
they
come
say?
Galloping by me. Hey, Mr. Harrison. And then the next time when they catch me they're usually making some smart comment, and I tell them, I said, listen, y'all keep on. I said, one day I'm going to chase you down. I said, and when this old man beats you, you'll be knowing it. But it's amazing. I always tell people that don't run, even when you go to the eye opener and these other races, the kids that are coming in last, like, they're faster than any of y'all standing out here are. You have no idea how fast they're really running. And I mean, they're just out there just smoking it. And so a lot of props. And for those of you listening, the eye opener is this huge kickoff meet, cross country meet that comes in. They actually, on Friday night, they do colleges, and then on Saturday morning, it's a ton of high schools from all over the state and, well, multi-state that come. And so it's a big kickoff event. So that's what we've been talking about, and Stephanie ran that on Friday night and ran at 18:37, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
So we have a good group of women called the Wing It Women, and we're just want to be post-collegiate athletes more than anything. So some of us ran at SWU, some of us ran a club in college, some of us ran at Clemson, whatever it may be. Some are just community and are just fast. So.
So what is Wing It? Because I've seen that. And I was going to ask you about that on this. Because, I mean, like, it's a really cool, like, you have a cool little logo, Wing It. And I'm like, what is it?
Because we wing it when we run.
Oh.
Yeah, just wing it.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, right.
But
like a group of people like y'all wing it. Y'all don't come into anything winging it.
Well, I kind of thought they were fast. But anyway, they are fast.
It started as a USC Upstate alumni group. And then it just kind of grew into this little community, and we don't pay into it. We just get our brand. And
you get a T-shirt.
We go get it printed.
Oh, you get it printed yourself.
Yeah.
You can be in our group.
Wing it.
Get your T-shirt printed yourself, and good luck.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
So it's a fun little group. We've done some like overnight stuff and like 24-hour like long distance races as a relay, and then we do some tracks. I mean, we'll meet for track workouts and.
Nice.
So you have a good community of people you run with, and that makes a big difference doing long runs or track workouts at 5:30 a.m. And
so for those people who are looking for fast friends, there are some fast friends in your group.
Yeah.
I mean, there we go. We're always looking for, and I know a couple of people who are like newer to the area or newer to the fast running, and they're always like, who do I run with? Who do I run with? And I mean, typically for women, you end up running with men if you want to run with people who are faster than you are. And so for you to have like a group of women to push each other, and also not saying that men aren't super supportive, but it is sometimes just nice to have women kind of help you along.
Yeah, absolutely. So like when I was in high school for the first at least 2 or 3 years, I was running with the boys team until we got really good and we won the state in my sophomore year. So but yeah, the female community in the Greenville and Spartanburg area is rising. I mean, we've got 3-4 really great women in Greenville area. Alyssa was a good friend of mine, Victoria Hammersmith, Sunday Ford, Shelby Jaramillo. We got some good girls in Greenville. And then the whole Spartanburg group, we just always run together and find time to make it happen either at Rockers Run Club on Tuesday nights. And that's how we all met. And then you train together, and then you end up being on the same level. Like, I know that Anna's going to be really good at track stuff, so she's going to push me on her 400s. And Shelby's going to be really good at trail running, so she's going to be better at your long distance intervals. So, like, I know who's good at what.
Find fast friends, I'm telling you. So,
Hold on a
your
second.
husband runs, though. Your husband runs, too.
He's an ultra marathoner.
Okay, so, like, I mean, where do you put the kids, like, when you two are running all the time?
So I never run with him. He's too tall, and he's
Okay.
too slow.
Okay.
So he always runs slow to me.
Yikes.
He's too.
Man,
He knows this.
Did we
I'll
need
tell
to
him
edit
his
that
face.
out?
I
I was
like
like,
it.
No,
I was like,
no.
it's just that there's an edit.
I like
Okay, no, but seriously, so where are the kids? Like, how do you juggle the kids? Because that's always my question to other women who are successful, because clearly you're juggling them and they are not in a closet somewhere, hopefully.
So as an example, and let's say on Saturday, I went for a 3-hour ride with Steve Hins, and he watches them and then I went straight to a soccer game, and then he ran that night. On Sunday morning, I got up at 5 and ran in the morning for 90 minutes, took the kids to church, and then we went to eat breakfast together, and then he ran that afternoon after Joseph's soccer game.
Okay.
Monday, he ran in the morning at like probably 4:30 before work because he's a nurse.
Okay.
And then this morning, let's see, today's Wednesday. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's all based off of what the day is. So like this morning he got up and he ran actually last night, and then he got up again this morning. And then today my schedule allowed me to be able to run in the middle of the day. So I ran in the middle of the day and did my workout at the Swamp Rabbit.
Right.
Moral of the story here is you have time.
Figure it out.
Figure it out.
Well, you do, but-
prioritize.
Logistics is important though. But I also have my mom who is extremely helpful in our case. So
Okay.
we would not be able to do what we do without her, honestly.
But you have to have that agility, not only physically, but mentally, to be able to be like, okay, let's lay out our schedule. You are not going to get to run early every morning, because it's just not going to happen if you're sharing your mornings with your husband. And I think people who don't have kids, or people who are getting ready to have kids, and they have a routine, and then all of a sudden you put some kids into that, they either fall off the wagon because they're like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And it is hard. Like what she's talking about doing is not easy. But it takes, you just have to figure it out. You have to have that desire and the will to make it happen, because it's hard. But I was just curious how and your mom, and what about his parents? Are they around too?
They live in Kentucky, so they'll come and see us every once in a while. But honestly, like, they're both runners. She ran for UK as one of the first UK athletes in Title IX.
Wow.
Yeah, and his dad is very involved in the running community where they live in Danville, Kentucky. So, and then his brothers both ran in college, and then my sister-in-law also ran in college.
So this is cultural
It
in
is.
your family.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, this is normal. And I think that's really important because kids pick up on that this is normal. I mean, I fully believe that my kid will just be like, oh, it's normal. Your parents go work out every Saturday, Sunday morning, because that's normal. Every morning, somebody's got to work out. And I think that is wonderful for kids to have that example, like to grow up in a household where that is the norm. It's not unusual.
I will say, though, on the back end, my kids are really tired of seeing me on a bike trainer in my garage. And my daughter came out the other day and said, Mommy, again? And so, like, there are times when I'm like, you know what? I'm going to cut this workout short, and I'm going to be with her, and I'm going to be present. And that's okay, because next day I'll do a little bit more, and I'll figure out time to do it differently.
It is.
But it takes a lot of self-discipline, and I've learned that probably over the past 3 or 4 months that I have to do a lot of things on my own in addition to being in a group setting.
Yes.
So,
but the trainer gives you that freedom.
mm-hmm.
But again, that's having mental agility to be able to be like, oh, my child, they're calling me out right now. Okay, well, I'll also call it mom guilt, because it's real.
Mm-hmm.
You have days where you're like, okay, I'm going to go do this. And like all of a sudden you're like, no, I'm not going anywhere.
Yep. Yeah.
And being able to be like, it's okay. Not get upset about it, because we are adults after all.
Mm-hmm.
So that wouldn't be right. But it's like you can do it, and you can balance, and you can still be really successful with your training, even when it isn't perfect. we tend to get caught up in this whole, well, my training schedule's laid out like this. I need to hit every single workout. Otherwise, it's not effective. That's not true. That is not true. It's a myth.
No. I think I've learned that more as I have been an adult and as a mom, that I have to navigate my schedule very differently. And I'm saying this out loud so that I put this episode on repeat and I listen to myself say this.
Yeah.
Because it is hard, and I have to navigate the mentality very differently than I did in college. And I used to have that mindset of I had to do boom, boom, boom in order to be successful. But I think there's times when I need to step back and say, hey, I'm just not going to be able to get to the pool today. And it's just not going to happen. Or the other day I was like, I needed to get into the pool at 5 a.m. and be in the pool by 5 a.m. But I needed to sleep. And that was much more important. So I need to take a step back and reprioritize.
That is one of the hardest things for athletes who are at a higher level.
I knew you were going to love that.
I am, because sometimes you have to really listen to your body and be like, no, this is not me being lazy. This is real. If I don't sleep, I'm going to dig myself into a hole that I can't get out of. And that is something that is really hard to teach people to trust themselves. As a coach, I'm not in your body. I'm telling you to do this workout, but if it's not good, it's not good. And if you need to sleep, or your quality of sleep hasn't been good, sometimes people are like, well, I slept 8 hours. And I'm like, well, was it good sleep? Was it, did you toss and turn? Did you feel rested when you woke up? No? Well, then you need more sleep. Mm-hmm. And you need to change your bedtime routine so that you're calming down. Like a lot of times I slide into bed, slide into bed, and I'm like, I need to go to sleep now so I get sleep. I can't go to sleep. I'm wide awake. So I've been trying to read at night, always take a shower before I go to bed, always read my book, and then try to go, ease into sleep so that I'm in a better state of mind versus going a million miles an hour and diving into the bed that's not working.
All right. Before you hijack this.
I'm not hijacking
Boston Marathon.
Let's get back to the Boston
Marathon.
All right. So my journey began five years postpartum, and I decided I was going to do Disney Marathon.
That would have been much better. Much better.
I loved
Did you know that, Kevin?
I did not know that, but now she is speaking my language.
I loved Disney because it wasn't about me. And it was about my kids because it was the first time taking them there. And no lie, we went to Disney. We went to 2 parks the day before my race. I walked.
When did you do this?
25,000 steps the day before.
When was this?
Gosh, it was during COVID. We had masks on. So I did Boston though. I did it 2 years ago. It was raining and chilly, and it was perfect. Yeah. My experience was perfect.
Perfect.
It was perfect.
Well, I want to hear about it.
Okay, great. I qualified at Disney Marathon with a 3:28.
Nice.
So I barely snuck under the 3:30 for my age group.
Did you ride the rides though?
Oh yeah.
You did?
I ran Disney Marathon, got done by 9:30. My kids weren't even there. Nobody was there. They were still getting up, getting ready to go to the park. So I took the bus back, and we had a lunch reservation at the castle at 11 o'clock. And I spent the whole time in the bathroom because I was so sick from the Disney Marathon that I'd run that morning. And so we went to Magic Kingdom that afternoon because my kids wanted to go to Disney.
No, that wasn't the question.
She did not ride the rides during the race.
That was what I wanted to know.
Oh, no.
She's not that fast.
When did I do that though?
Well, that's what somebody over there likes to do. So I was I had to ask her. She is that fast. She is that fast that she could have ridden a few rides.
No. You have to wait till the park opens.
Yeah, you can't ride them till they add.
Yeah.
They have to.
So you have to be slower.
I was too fast.
She would be
she
too
was
fast by the time you hit Animal Kingdom to be able to ride.
Oh.
But you can do that, yeah.
But you have to be slow,
I guess,
to ride the rides because the parks aren't open.
For Disney to be open, but fast enough so you're not going to get swept.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I just had to ask.
The race starts at 5 a.m., so you have to be on the buses by pretty much 2:30 a.m.
Yes, I have unfortunately accompanied people to the start of that race before, and I was like, this would be a no for me.
I would much rather start at 5 a.m. in Florida, but it's in January, so
I've actually done that 13 straight times.
That's so awesome.
The start of that 5K is my own personal torture.
Oh, yeah.
Being around that many people at that time of the morning and nowhere to go.
Yeah.
I hated.
Yeah.
I love the rest of it.
Yeah.
Hated that part.
It's a spectacle.
Well, being there to support people, being around that many people and not running,
not
that
great.
was really scary.
But I'll tell you what I did, which I think was because I negative split Disney
Wow.
Marathon.
That's impressive.
So I went faster in my second half. But I took pictures with characters the whole time.
Oh, so she did do that.
So I
See?
took pictures, but I didn't ride rides. But I have lots of pictures with characters during the first half. And once I hit the first half, I was like, I feel good. I'm going to negative split. And so I was running with
Then
this
she
guy.
stopped taking pictures with
I
characters.
mean, I did not know that she qualified at Disney. This makes this pop. There's something.
Something special.
you know,
there's something
no,
special
actually,
going
no,
on here.
There's nothing special. There is something magical.
Magical.
Oh, yeah.
There's something magical
Sorry.
going on.
Sorry,
That's
that was
real.
so bad.
No,
Yeah.
it's real.
That's
Going under Cinderella's castle was pretty awesome.
That would be. Did they get your
I got
picture when you did that?
tears.
Did they like take professional pictures?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But going down Main Street USA
Mm-hmm.
was one of the most magical parts of that race.
The reveal when you run in and you run in and you make this turn, and when you turn, it's like all these people, and it's like the big reveal of the castle.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And you just run right
Magical.
towards it. It's
really,
just awesome.
It is awesome.
Someday.
Yeah. Well,
Someday. Okay, so you made it to Boston.
Yes.
We got to keep
Sorry.
going about Boston.
So my husband also qualified for Boston that year.
Oh, really?
So he did Tobacco
was
Road.
nice.
Yeah, he did Tobacco Road, and he was under by like 13 seconds.
Well, and Tobacco Road is actually, right, it's flat. Well, on the way out and on the way back, it's hilly. And it's cinders. It's not pavement. So it's not super fast. It is flat.
Yeah,
But those cinders don't really help you with speed.
right. But he's an ultra marathon runner, so
So he
really,
loved it.
This
was
was
like-
fast for him.
Okay.
So no, he got under by like 13 seconds. And that year we got in, everyone got in, which was great because it was like a COVID year. And so if you met the qualifying standard, you were pretty good. Nowadays, you pretty much have to be 5 to 8 to 10 minutes under the qualifying standard. But so we both got to run Boston Marathon that year, and we were not in the same wave. And so I qualified, because I was slow. And then I started actually training with my training partner, Shelby Adair, and we both got into Boston Marathon. And I met her during training, and we were running around the same time frames. And so we would do all of our long runs together, workouts together. We kind of just winged it.
Is she, wing it. Is she a physical therapist too?
No, she's an architect.
Oh, different person.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So we trained together. We were in different waves. I was way back. So I was a 328 in my wave. And then I was aiming for New York qualifier, which at that point was 3:15, but it really didn't matter because New York, you really have to be a lot faster to actually qualify. But she was ahead of me in a different group. I started out slow. I also negative split Boston Marathon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So went out slow. It was a cold, rainy year. People are everywhere. The hype is real. I had a great experience, and I don't know if I'll ever do Boston Marathon again because my experience was
So good.
perfect. It was perfect. Everything about it was perfect. My training was great. I was ready for the hills. I trained in Spartanburg downtown. I didn't go anywhere else because I trained on the hills. I didn't train on flat. I was ready for the hills. And once I hit the hills, it was all downhill from there, and I flew. Wow. And so I ran a 3:03 at Boston.
Wow.
Was a 25-minute PR because I actually trained.
Yeah.
And I had a good training partner.
Funny how that works.
It was awesome. It was really magical. So I'm doing another marathon, though, in December. So I'm doing CIM, and I'm ready to fly.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm doing.
Have a goal?
What's that?
Have a goal?
Do I want to verbalize it?
I
don't have to.
I don't know. That's kind of like asking somebody how much money do you make.
You don't have to.
Like
I can tell you what my Coro says.
Yeah.
My predicted time right now is under 2:50.
Oh.
So if I could do that, that would be awesome. But I think at least if I could get under 3 hours, I'll check that box off and move on with my life.
But I mean, I'm just going to throw this out. Isn't it 2:47 to qualify for the Olympic trials?
No,
No? What is it?
I thought it was 2:40 or 2:37.
Maybe.
Alyssa, my friend Alyssa
She did.
Bloomquist, yeah.
Who
yes.
even has conversations?
So I'm
like
pretty
that?
sure it's 237.
Just happen to know
It was
what I need to
247
run.
for a while.
Right.
Yes, and that's a big jump.
Oh, that
unfortunately.
is a big jump, but 247 isn't. That's why I was like, ooh.
I know it would be cool, but no, I wish that would be awesome.
You should double check that though,
I
just in
will.
case.
Yeah, maybe I'll hit like a B standard.
I mean, just go. Yeah, but maybe that's it.
Yeah.
There's something. 247 is something, and it was recent that I looked.
It might be for New York City. So New York City has these qualifying standards.
Well, you
but
can race in the elite group. I thought if you were under 310.
for New York.
Yeah.
Oh well, they also have the half marathon standards, which
Okay.
I had met, and I did not get it.
Yes,
So
you
I'm a
have
little
to.
bitter.
Yeah.
You have to hit their half marathon standard to be.
Up there. You have to hit their half marathon standard in New York City under one of their NYRRs races.
Maybe you can verify your like it's an open entry or something.
If they're listening, I'm ready to go run New
Yeah,
York City.
she wants to go run New York. I don't. Okay,
I will
yeah.
some point in my life.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
I mean, no doubt.
Yeah. So it'll be fun.
I think there are so many loopholes though in these
Yeah.
races, like how to get in, especially once you start running faster.
Yeah. But you had said something about Boston, how Boston's just this time that you want to be able to hit the time and you could qualify, but you may not get in. And that can be a big disappointment because they're the standards now and so many people are going for it. You have to be almost 8 to 10 minutes under the standard now.
Yeah.
They'll start lowering the standards, I'm sure. But my thing is Boston because they've made it that way. You can also make Chicago that way. Like I had some guys that I ran with in high school who ran Chicago and had a great experience. Martin Tiller, they ran Chicago Marathon, had a great experience. But Boston came up and it was just a different experience. So you can make whatever race you want the experience you desire.
Yeah.
So whether that's a triathlon or whether that's Chicago or Berlin or whatever, your local Kiowa Marathon, if you want it to be that way, make that experience yours. So
That's great advice.
I just, I know that people look to Boston as this like goal, but like CIM is going to be my goal. And that's very, not unheard of, but I think that's just different. So I don't know. I encourage you. I'm here for you. Self-talk, positive self-talk.
Positive self-talk. Yeah, we'll have to do some training runs together. You think?
Yeah.
You think I'm ready for that yet?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, talking to somebody that's even talking about the Olympic trials and
Oh no. I'm
under
not
3
talking
hour.
that. Maybe triathlon.
I don't know.
We'll see the half distance.
This weekend is actually this coming weekend. Our nationals for triathlon.
Yes.
We do have a few people locally going. I don't know everybody. I just know the people I coach who are going. But I mean, it's a big deal. It's up in Atlantic City.
Yep.
It's flat. It has 19 turns. 19 turns
On the bike?
Yes.
Ooh.
I know.
It's a lot.
Well, you know what one of my guys said? Talk about thinking positive. I said, I just want you guys to know there are 19 turns. And he said, well, for all those people who've been on the trainer all the time, it's my time to shine.
My
and I
time
was
to
like, I love it.
That's perspective.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
real.
I mean, it's real.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Is that
I
an
like-
Olympic distance?
It is. Well, they have an Olympic and a sprint, of course. If you're driving up there, he's going to race both.
Nice.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Are they on
Do you get a challenge
consecutive
medal for
days?
that?
Is he going to get a dopey for that? I don't think so.
Do you get an extra medal?
I don't think he's in it for the medal.
Okay.
You've done dopey.
Oh, yeah.
How many times have you done dopey, Kevin?
13.
That's awesome.
They call me perfect dopey.
Oh.
You know, I mentioned that to somebody this weekend. I was like, did you know Kevin is a perfect dopey? And they looked at me and I was like, we did that race where he's a perfect dopey. And because they kind of thought I was being mean. I was like, no, it's the race.
That's right.
It was in context, but they kind of,
When you show
missed
up, when we show up to pick up our bibs and things, they call your name out, and all of the cast members that are giving out the thing, they all give you a big ovation. Yeah, it's like the best thing ever.
Positive
I mean,
self-talk.
you've got to have something. You got to have something. That's my thing. So let's go back a little bit, and you mentioned peaking, that you wanted to talk about peaking in your 9th grade year, and I wanted to ask both of you, lady, what are some things that female runners specifically need to be aware of? And, we talked about some of these things. We go through puberty and you have these bad years and other things. As females are out there and running, and especially young ones, and as we're trying to monitor our kids that come through that maybe run track, cross country, do other things, what are some things you would say to those parents and to encourage those young ladies?
So to encourage the parents or to encourage the athlete?
Both of them.
Yeah. So
which those are two completely different groups of people right there.
They are. So I'll give first a personal perspective, if that's okay.
Yep.
So since I've been running for so long, I kind of knew what my body needed was a little bit of diversity. And so like in my 7th and 8th grade year, I did cross country, and then I played basketball, which I'm sure the coaches hated that I played basketball because I twisted my ankle 5,000 times. And then I would do track. So the diversity I really do think helped. Coming into my 9th grade, probably my strongest year. My 10th grade year was probably one of the worst years. And that was also just from a social perspective, coming into the high school, as well as just bone growth and muscle development. And then, obviously coming into puberty and starting your period and menstrual cycles, emotional components. And we don't even involve social media when I was in high school. But there's a lot of other factors that go into physical health in terms of how we perform. Anxiety being a part of that, which I look back at that and I had a lot of, and I don't think it was well controlled. But also when I did really well and I peaked in 9th grade, I had college coaches starting to talk to me. And then my 10th grade year was honestly a nightmare. And I had lots of bone injuries. I think a part of that is just due to puberty and bone development, not keeping up with nutrition, not keeping up with strength, which I think we're starting to see more integration of strength training into our younger female and male populations. Dynamic warm-ups, doing active stretching, doing static stretching afterwards, incorporating just different types of movements. But I cross-trained and I was on the bike, still involved with the team. I was still a team captain because I was biking during their workouts. I was aqua jogging as a 10th grader because I knew that's what I had to do. Yes, I gained weight. I remember my 10th and 11th grade year, I was biking and swimming and I was lifting, but I wasn't running because I had a sesamoid injury, and I got bigger, like my chest got bigger. And I remember I was injured. I got my prom dress, and then when I went to go get it fitted, it was too small because my chest got so big. And it was devastating to me. Just from an emotional, self-look perspective, that I had to get my prom dress redone because I was lifting too much. And so that was hard as well, but I stayed in it and I stayed a part of the social component. And I came back, and yes, it wasn't as good as it was, but I still came back. And I think the biggest thing is to educate some of these female parents and families that they'll probably go through this in some form or another, whether it's stress fractures or shin splints or anemia or whatever it may be. They're going to have probably a down year. It's just, how do we as parents support them physically, emotionally, psychologically? And whether that is counseling, whether that is seeing a school counselor or a sports psychologist, or hey, let's talk about nutrition, or stay involved with the team, do team functions. I think that can even carry you through those tough times. But stay involved. I say the athlete needs to stay involved with the team itself, even if you're not racing or training with them. Time them. Be involved in what the coach is doing. As a parent, I think it's really hard to watch your child go through that. And obviously I have not come to that point, but I had a parent who allowed me to do other things in the meantime, which I think has helped me as an adult. So I am now a swimmer. I am now a biker. I am now still a runner. And I still play tennis and golf and all these other fun things. And just know that running is a lifelong sport that you can pick up later in life. And it's not just all about, all the times that we put upon ourselves. And most athletes put that pressure on themselves. So
it is really hard. I can tell you from a parent perspective, it is, we're just coming out of that. Hopefully the year, it's really been a year and a half, and you deal with the anemia just extremely low iron, and having to battle that and figure out how. I mean, just trying everything, and then you get to a point where it's like, okay, all you can do is a doctor tell you, well, you're going to have to just stop running for a while to try to battle through this, and then you come back. But the cross country coach, because he has told me so many. I've heard him say it so many times. He's like, all the girls, every single one of them has a bad high school year. So just something body wise, they just have that bad year. And, hope for us, hopefully we've gotten that behind us and we're coming out of it. In fact, the eye opener on Saturday was really her first race that she's been able to really run in probably a year and a half of really go out and run injury free and feeling better. And so she, but it's so hard getting that. I know Coach Katie is saying it's hard getting that confidence back, and them saying, okay, am I ever going to be able to get back what I was? And then you start dealing with all these mental and emotional things. And I think for females, it is different because like with her, I mean, the things you talked about, I mean, they start going through puberty and she grew like 8 inches and you start your period, all those things happen and kind of culminate. And it's just it can be tough I think it can be much tougher on young females than it is the young males at that point.
They don't have the skills to really cope with what's happening. You can step back now as an adult, like all the advice you gave, I mean, spot on. But when you're a kid, you did not know all those things that you just said. You knew it was happening, but you had no clue how to deal with it, how to even ask for help from it. I think most parents are completely uninformed when it comes to the iron levels, especially with female athletes. I mean, it's kind of like the first thing with female athlete that should be checked. We take our kids to the doctor because we think the doctor should be able to tell us what's wrong with them instead of checking the iron levels, doing blood work. A lot of times you get stop running. And so like, I think it's really important to seek out expert advice in the sports arena when your kid is doing any sport and you feel like they're off, whether it's a boy or a girl, because doctors, they're doctors. They don't spend a ton of time on nutrition when they're learning to be a medical doctor. I mean, I've had so many doctors tell me that, we had like a semester of it and that's it. And it didn't really focus on sports. And so like, I think that you've got to listen to your child. You've got to seek out the experts, kind of what you were saying, because mentally it can just wreak havoc on you.
Yeah, there's a lot of anatomical and physiological change that happens at that time frame in growth, and emotional and psychological change. And you're right, they don't have the skill set. You think that they're 15 years old and they have enough life experience to deal with that, and they don't. And that's why we're seeing a lot more of like sports psychologists, even in the collegiate world, that I think needs to even be seen at the high school level. And actually more importantly, because they don't have the life skills to be able to manage that. I will say one exception to that rule would be Logan Morris. I think she did an excellent job of navigating her body through physiological change, and her mindset is very different than a lot of other girls that I've ever seen. And I know Logan personally as a runner, but just following her journey. But I think she and even her coach did an excellent job managing that. And I think that just comes from life experience.
I think that the mental component, like I really wasn't aware of that was even a thing when I was in high school. And it's something that I think like as a parent, we expect that the coach should be helping the kids through like this mental toughness, this mental work that they should be doing. And it's really not present because the coaches don't have enough time to be able to come back and focus on that. They just need to make sure the kids do the workouts.
And they really haven't received the training in those things.
They don't know.
Hey, just tough it out.
Right.
That we think about mental toughness, just tough it out.
But that's not what it is.
That's not what it is.
And so I think that that's a huge, colleges are figuring it out now, the value of it. There's a lot more information out there. I mean, it's one of my kind of like passion projects because I feel like it just wasn't available. And I'm like, gosh, so many kids could have performed better if they had a better thought process, honestly.
Different sport entirely, but Burns softball is the closest thing to a female sports dynasty in this area right now. Well, but Dorman volleyball.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those two are 1-2 in female sports having a dynasty in this area. And Burns uses a full-time, she doesn't work for the school full-time, but she is a full-time sports psychologist.
There you go.
And it's in a sport where failure is expected. When if you're successful 4 out of 10 times, you're way above average. She helps them deal with failure and all of this other stuff we've been talking about.
And it is hard. And you know, you spoke to it, you know, especially if you taste success and then things happen, you have an extended period of health things that really it can become, and I've had to learn this, you know, the hard way as a parent. It can become almost paralyzing to that young athlete of just, and it's almost I don't know what to do. You know, I'm doing everything that I thought I was supposed to be doing, and my body is not doing what it should be doing. And you know, and when you finally get your body back right and those things get in line, you would think, okay, well, everything's just going to be fine now. But it's that mental aspect of it, the emotional aspect of it has to catch up. It has to catch up. And, you know, you have to work through those things. And I think you have to do, there was a point in time where I thought some of that stuff was way overstated, but I've come to believe that I think it's way understated, and that it is as, were you over there cheering?
Somebody's listening.
Yes.
But I think it is way understated, that it's a piece of that pie. I've even seen it with me, and I joke about being like super fast and stuff, but I am getting better. But I have seen that with myself. This is what I've always said. I have always said things like this of, hey, I can run forever. I go forever. But I would say my marathon pace, same as my 5K pace. That I start and I'm just going to run that pace the whole
You're
whole
making
time.
this sound a whole lot better than it actually was.
Yeah.
In terms of things that you've said about yourself. I'm just slow.
yeah.
I'm just slow. And I said, would you say that to your daughter, Kevin? He was like, no. I'm like, why do you keep saying that to yourself? Yeah. I mean, like, we have to have that conversation with ourselves, but a lot of times it takes somebody to call you out and be like, stop. And I mean, like, look, Kevin's a leader. It's hard to be like, Kevin, stop doing what you're doing. Because, like, nobody wants to call Kevin out except
there's
me.
Plenty of people calling me out. Just talking about. But it is. I have seen even in practicing these things myself and taking some of those disciplines myself, something happens. You know, when you control your thoughts and you control your mind, that something happens. And, you know, and I'm 51 years old. I don't mind saying that. But when you're dealing with 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, they don't have that in their toolbox. And so we have to do things to help them to be able to cope with those things and work through them. So, all right. Well, listen, we're going to do 2 parts on this. We're right at an hour here. We have been talking to the doctor about her many accomplishments, and we're going to have her on again to be able to talk more about, get a race report for CIM and see what she's doing there, and continuing to follow this journey, because I got a feeling it's going to keep getting better. But we're going to have part 2 of this, which we hope you guys tune into, which will be dropping in just a few days. We're going to talk about what she does in pelvic health. We're going to encourage you to look that up, and you probably know about as much about it as I did whenever I started researching this, but it's something very important, something that is trending now, and we're going to be talking to her about that. So we will, for Jed, Coach Katie, and our guest, Dr. Stephanie Morgan.
Thank
this is
you.
Kevin Harrison reminding you, and just like the things that she's been talking about, especially with the mental training that we got into, you do the hard things today, tomorrow will take care of itself.